Brandy here. Welcome back to Sewing Back. And it's Monday night and we are waiting for some heavy wind, or I should say strong wind and very heavy rains to begin here in Georgia. I know a lot of you, if you live in the path of the coming storm, it's going to hook up. It's like a nor'easter, and a lot of people are in for probably in the southeast a bumpy night tonight for sure, and in the morning, and then as the weather system goes up, those up north I think are expecting a lot of snow, was the last thing I heard. So we're just supposed to get, I think they're saying we're going to get 3+ inches of rain in a pretty short period of time with very heavy winds. And the wind's been picking up all day. I went out when I got home from work and checked on the chickens, made sure they were okay, gave them some extra protein, and I actually gave them some corn to help them tonight. Not that it's going to be crazy cold, it's the wind. You know, chickens don't like that wind too well, so you have to be careful. My coop is very well insulated, so they'll be fine. They were still out running around, and I gave them some sourdough discard and with the other stuff that I gave them, so they were pretty happy girls. But that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about, I told y'all we were going to start a new playlist, and this is going to be the old cookbook playlist. And this is the Rumford Complete Cookbook. And tonight, because it's so cold, I have one feeling a little under the weather, and I'm making my simplified chicken soup. I have a video on that. I can link it in the cards and I can put it in the description. Super easy way to get a very nutritious chicken soup on a weeknight that's fast, using an Instapot and using skinless, boneless. You can either use chicken breast, thighs, or a combination. And then I just have some of my bone broth. You can get bone broth now in the stores pretty easily if you don't have any on your shelf. And yeah, and I just add a good bit of turmeric and ginger and some apple cider vinegar to it, and all the spices, some carrots and onions and garlic, lots of garlic. And it will make you feel better if you're cold or if you're under the weather. And it's one of our favorites. So I usually pair that with some einkorn noodles. However, I have some Azure egg noodles I think I'm going to try tonight. But that is not what this video is about. This video is about this cookbook. It's from, if you didn't see the other video, this was a find that we had when we were antiquing. John found it for me. Hold on, my dogs are barking. So John actually found this for me when we were antiquing, and it is the Rumford Complete Cookbook. This book was originally printed in, I believe it was 1908, and this was the reprint of 1926. So, and it's really in fantastic shape to be so old. So tonight with our chicken soup, I decided, I knew what I wanted to be my first recipe that we made together, and that was to make the Rumford biscuits. So let me read it to you, because in the older cookbooks, they didn't have ovens that had temperatures like ours currently do. So they really relied upon touch as to how hot they thought their oven was. And so you'll kind of hear that when I read this. So the directions are, you need 2 cups of flour, 1/2 level teaspoon of salt, 4 level teaspoons of Rumford baking powder, which I have some, 2 level tablespoons of shortening or lard, I got lard, milk and or a milk/water to mix, and you need about 3/4 cup is what it says. So it says stir well together the flour, the salt, and the baking powder. Rub in your shortening. I think that means like cutting it in. If you've ever done a biscuit with butter, how you kind of have that little cutter, or you can use 2 forks. So you want to kind of cut that in, but they say to use your fingers, which are your best tools. So it says to work it in to work until the fat is well blended with the flour. Then mix to a very soft dough with the milk or the milk and water. Having this always as cold as possible. Mix with a flexible knife Mix with a flexible knife in preference to either a spoon or the hand. So once you put the milk in, it's telling you you're going to want something, which I guess is why we have those dough cutters. Never really thought about it, but they're saying like a knife to use that instead of using your hands, because it's going to warm it up and make it a sticky mess. As the steel blades of the knife are colder than the spoon and obviously your hands, it will cut and it mixes the dough more thoroughly. Turn the dough into a well-floured board and roll or pat it with the hand until about 3/4 inch of an inch thick. Cut into biscuits and lay them, not touching each other, on a baking pan. Bake in a quick oven 12 to 14 minutes. So it says the chief requirements of good biscuits are: 1, a very soft dough, so soft as to be almost sticky. 2, a very little handling, because much manipulation destroys their lightness. 3, a very quick oven. If biscuits are not allowed to touch each other in the pan, they will be lighter and more delectable than when placed close together. And I think what they're saying there is you get that kind of that crispness on the outside, but that pillowy on the inside. So that's what we're going to go for. So we're going to make these biscuits. And you may be saying, well, what do we preheat our oven to then? Well, I did some research because I'm like, I too don't know what a quick oven is. And as I was going through it, there's a lot of different terminologies for the temperatures of the oven. And from my research, what I found was some of them had these little gauges that you would sit on your oven, and they had little holes in them, and they went from real little holes to bigger holes, kind of like you would put your finger on. And depending on how long you could hold your finger there on the how big the opening was, that kind of gave you a gauge for how hot your oven was. I thought that was kind of interesting. I've never seen that, never heard that before, but I did see that. And in my research, I found that a quick oven is usually somewhere between 400 and 425. I did find one person who had said 375 to 425. But I think the majority of the different resources that I found, which had old links to old peer-reviewed references about the period when this was written, and some of these older cookbooks, was 400 to 425. So I'm going to do mine 425, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to get my oven preheating. I'm going to go ahead and pre-measure out all the things I said. I will put this in the description, this recipe. It is old enough that I can do that and not breaking a copyright. And so if you want to try to make them too. Now, of course, I'm using the Rumford baking powder. I'm sure you could use whatever baking powder you want. But that's the baking powder of choice that I use. It doesn't have aluminum, and I've used it for years. So it just works out that I have that. I'm also going to be using an all-purpose flour. I'm not going to be milling my own for this because they would have probably used more of an all-purpose, because she has one of the other ones I'll do later on, not today. She has a whole wheat one, and I'll probably try doing that with a freshly milled one or whatever for my whole wheat. But for today, we're just going to use the plain all-purpose flour and the other ingredients that I listed. So let me get everything set up and we will get into this. Okay guys, so I got 8 biscuits. I probably rolled them a little thick, that's okay. And I used closer to a cup of milk to get them to come together. So we're gonna put these in my 425 degree oven, which is a quick oven, and we're gonna cook these for 12 to 14 minutes. I'm gonna be watching them at 12, and I'll see if I feel like they're ready or not. I'm not going to put any butter or anything on these because it didn't call for it. I'm just making it just like it said in the cookbook. I could have used buttermilk. I could have used a lot of things. I didn't. I would follow the directions to a T, which I will put in the description. So let's get these baking, and I'll show you what they look like when they come out. Well, this is them. I think they're a little light in color. I think they probably would have darkened up if I would have put butter on them, but I didn't. So we're going to try them. And I cooked these are 14 minutes. I did rotate my pan. I've learned in my oven it does better if I rotate it. Alright guys. Let's see. It's hot. Can you see that? It's cooked. That's always good. Not bad. Needs work. Well, it needs butter for sure. I would like it better with some butter. I think I would like it better if I would have used buttermilk. I don't know if I overworked it, but I don't know how else. I just need practice. I'm going to keep practicing this one. So anyway, this came out of the Rumford Complete Cookbook. This is the 1926 printing of it, and this was found on page 115. If any of you come across this cookbook, I will leave the directions in the description if you're interested in it. And that will end our first episode of the Old Cookbook playlist, our new playlist. If you give this a try, tell me what you think. I'd like to hear about it. What would you do differently? This was my first time using lard. I actually thought it was easier. I'll be interested. One of the next ones I'll probably do is a pie crust, because I love butter pie crust and it's kind of like my nemesis. So I'd like to try it with the lard, because when you were cutting it in, it was a lot easier than using butter. So anyway, stay tuned for that. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.